right, everyone, good to go. Amazing. All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the Entertainment Journalism and PR Speaker event. I'm your moderator, Austin Ashburn. I love entertainment journalism, and obviously being at Cronkite, I feel like it's kind of a subsection of journalism that we don't really get to learn too much about during our time at Cronkite. So I really wanted to highlight it with my own event. And I know Devon also went to Cronkite, so she can speak on that too. But yeah, so we're going to talk everything about entertainment journalism and PR today. And I have some amazing speakers to do that for me instead of me just speaking. So we're going to get into introductions. So we're going to start with Puja. If you could tell us where you are located, what you've been doing in the past, what you're currently doing, and some fun facts about your career and yourself.
Who do you want to go with first?
Oh, yeah, Puja.
Okay, fine. I am Puja Talwar and I'm from India, based in New Delhi. That's the capital of India. And I've been a broadcast journalist for 27 years now, actually completed 27 years. So I'm a fossil. And I got into it very incidentally. It was, I was studying for my civil service exams because that was the damn thing after your master's. And I realized I didn't want to do that. And it just got into journalism, actually started off as an cub reporter at a TV company because TV, there were just 2 TV channels in India. Then the cable TV boom had just started and I loved watching movies. I loved seeing people and just thought maybe one day I could be part of it, never thinking that it would pan out like that. So that's how it started. And the rest, as they say, is history. So I started as a, you can say, intern cub reporter, graduated to a producer, did all sorts of things, even doing properties and costumes on dramas, then was taken on as a correspondent at New Delhi Television, which is India's premier news channel. From there, graduated, grew up in the ranks and was entertainment editor. And 4 years ago, I decided to quit New Delhi Television and join Good Times as their lifestyle and entertainment. I'm now an executive editor there. So yes, that's what I've been covering, entertainment and lifestyle. So Bollywood, Hollywood. Bollywood is our Indian film industry. Hollywood, as you know, and now recently Korean, K-pop stars and K-drama stars have been writing. So yeah, that's what's been happening. And that's what I've been doing for 27 years. I don't know a life beyond this.
Love it. And then we'll go to Clint.
Hi, yeah. So my name is Clint Edwards. I'm currently in Seattle for Fox 13 Seattle. Before this, I was at Como, which is another TV station here in Seattle. Before that, San Antonio and Alabama. I graduated college in 2017, wanting to go into the film industry. That's what I studied the 4 years for. Throughout college, I worked in the Atlanta film industry on a few movies and TV shows. And at the end of my time there, decided that actually is not what I wanted to do because the film industry is it's a stressful industry to be in because you can't guarantee full-time work. So, but I was still thinking that maybe I'll still go do it because I have the degree in it. So I was applying everywhere and I just saw a position for news photographer. So I thought just doing stills for a newspaper. I knew absolutely nothing. And it ended up being a TV station in Birmingham. And they hired me for some reason with no experience in journalism. So yeah, I got my start there. I had planned to stay 6 months, make a little bit of money, move to Atlanta. But here I am 5 years later, almost to the day, and I'm still doing it. So in Birmingham and San Antonio, I did investigations, which as a true crime lover, I was really excited to be getting into that. But then I was also a fan of like K-pop and all this other entertainment. So yeah, I just kind of started reaching out randomly to different places and got lucky with that. Yeah, and since then I've been interviewing a lot of K-pop groups, and yesterday I started interviewing the cast of Power Rangers Dino Fury, which my nostalgia as a kid was really excited for that one. So yeah, I'm still relatively new to entertainment journalism since I just started that last year. But I mean, it's a really fun part of the industry to be in. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for me.
Amazing. And then we're gonna move to Christina.
Hi. I've been an entertainment journalist for 32 years, and I started in Detroit where I was born, and I lived there for 36 years. And I have been in the right place in the right time in my whole career. I started as my first internship was with the Detroit Red Wings, and then I went into newspapers. And when I was an intern for a paper in Detroit, the music editor quit, and they said that because I was the youngest one and probably the hippest one, that I should take it over. And that was my goal in life. And so it worked out, right place, right time. You just have to network, and it worked out well. And it's been 32 years, and I've interviewed the likes of Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Taylor Swift. Who else do I have up here? Just I've been so fortunate and so blessed to have the career that I've had. It's just been amazing. So, and I just continue to do it. Right now I'm in Phoenix. I am the executive editor of the Times Media Group. I oversee 25 publications in Tucson, Phoenix, and in California. So that keeps me very, very busy. So, and I'm just recovering from spine surgery. So if I sound out of breath, I apologize now. So taking a lot out. But yeah, so that's kind of my career in a nutshell. It's been amazing.
I love it. And then last but not least is our PR bestie of the panel. It's Devon.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm happy to be here. Currently located in Phoenix. So as it was mentioned, I'm pretty much a recent grad. I graduated in December of last year. Only 21, so I'm very, very fresh to the industry. But at the same time, I started my previous job at Defy Entertainment as an intern doing digital audiences. And at the time, it was interesting because it was kind of the crossfire between Web2 music and the transition into everything blowing up with crypto and Web3 and everything like that. So the record label that I was working at was under Atlantic, and we were spearheading the Web3 movement. So moving into virtual concerts and releasing music on Web3 and different platforms like that, which was a very interesting side of things. And like I said in the beginning, I was doing digital audiences. So it was all social analytics. And through Atlantic, we had a PR group, but they knew absolutely nothing about crypto, the same way I knew absolutely nothing. But based off of being an intern and just getting, close to my CEO and the people who were higher up, they decided to bring me on as internal. Just that way I can kind of make sure that, be the one to make sure that the actual PR agency was getting everything they needed. I was doing all the copy editing and writing for them. So a bunch of ghostwriting within Rolling Stone and other things like that, because kind of the main goal for my producer was, my CEO who was a producer, was to become a thought leader within music and Web3, just based off of his experience within the music industry. So everything that we did was kind of based off of putting him in front of the right people to kind of spearhead this movement and everything that we were building behind the scenes. So I got to spend a lot of time doing that, and I met a ton of people throughout the time. And I'm currently working at a different company alongside A&E TV stars and different people who are big within educating for secondary and primary streams of income, but kind of a different way of educating, but it's still working very closely with all of them. But yeah, it was a really great experience, and I definitely learned a lot throughout my last job. But yeah, that's it.
Amazing. So this first half of the panel is going to be planned questions that I'll be asking, and then afterwards I'm going to open it to everyone in the audience, and I will say whoever asks a question that is a Taylor Place resident, I'm going to put you on a little raffle, and I will be buying 2 Starbucks drinks for whoever asks a question after this. Okay, so the first question is, and whoever wants to start can start. When did you realize that you wanted to go into entertainment journalism or PR?
I guess I'll go first. I knew, and my mother worked as a finance person for a company that owned newspapers in Michigan, and she would take me into her office at on the weekends when I was about 8, and she would hand me reporter's pads, and instead of doodling in them like I was supposed to be, being a good little kid that I was, I would go down to the newsroom and take notes on the reporters. And so she, so they taught me a thing or two very young that, I was doing the right thing by being a journalist. And I was just always obsessed with music and wanted to learn about the musicians and learn about the stories behind the songs. So like I said, I just kind of fell in the right spot. And then when I was in 2000, I was at a concert where a riot broke out in Detroit, and I wrote a story for a very small website, and I got a call the following morning that said, "So can we quote you on your, we'd like to get quotes from you about what happened." It was an Everlast concert, and he was making snide remarks about Eminem, and it was Rolling Stone. And then they asked me, they said, "Have you ever thought about writing for us?" And that kind of cemented it all. So, yeah.
I
So
guess I
that's-
can.
No, I'm done. Go ahead.
Okay. So I didn't know I wanted to do journalism or entertainment journalism, because I didn't know I wanted to do journalism at all. I knew I wanted to do something with entertainment because I did study film. So I did want to be, I grew up loving movies and everything, so I kind of wanted to be a part of that. But yeah, when I got into journalism, TV news journalism at least, the day-to-day stories and everything, they can kind of get a little boring. Even though I was getting to do, cool crime stories and all this other stuff, I mean, TV news can get very draining and very repetitive. So I was like, let me take my interest and try to make my job a little more interesting. So yeah, I was like, I'm interested in this music. Let me just reach out to all these people to see if I can make something out of it. So I reached out to a bunch of the entertainment companies, and it just so happened that one of them had a new group debuting, and they wanted the publicity, so they sent me over to their American PR company. And since then, I guess I just really got lucky because they did like my interviews with the group and everything. So they send me all of their new groups coming out now. Most of them I'm already a big fan of. And then once I kind of got in with that one company doing their interviews, other PR companies reached out with their artists. So I mean, it kind of just happened really quickly last year, just because I was bored of doing normal news and wanted to change. Yeah, so I'm here now, and I've interviewed a few groups. Like I said, I'm still new, but probably eight or nine K-pop groups and artists, and getting into the TV realm of interviewing now. So yeah, I didn't know I wanted to do entertainment journalism, but it just kind of happened out that way, and I got lucky. So.
Well, about me, I mean, I kind of should not blame my parents, should be grateful to them that they unconsciously pushed me in that direction, because my father especially is a movie buff. Like, he watches a film first day, first show. So, from the time I was a baby, I would be taken to theaters, and catch a movie. Not that I knew what was playing out, but I think somewhere I just got so fascinated. So I grew up to be this starry-eyed kid who had her famous fives in one hand and also would pore over a film glossy, just so fascinated with the world around her. And those days we had black and white televisions, just so fascinated and taken in about what was unfolding on screen. I still remember, I'm talking about Superman with Christopher Reeve. Going to the theater, and I was like, oh, what is this universe, but never thought that I would end up doing what I am doing now, because those days entertainment journalism was more tabloidy. There were journalists writing copies about who is having an affair with who was seen. And also it was just a reportage, I met up with this actor and this is what they said. Also, there was not such exposure. Went to college, was a good student, totally focused into academics, and my heart was not in sitting for the civil service exam. And incidentally, it was my mom, because, I'm talking about 1995, and that was the time when India opened up and when we got access to MTV. And I was a kid who would run after my class in college to catch the latest episode of Top of the Pops on MTV, and Bold and Beautiful that was playing out, because we would get access to it. I gave my prelims, I didn't make it, and my mom called me. She said, there's this TV company that's recruiting interns and cub reporters, you want to try? And I said, yes, I will. My first day in the TV station was horrendous. It was 16 hours. I was made to sit in a room and go over tapes. I didn't know what a mid shot was from a close-up. And I told my dad, I'm not doing this. He says, fine, there are no free lunches in life. Think what you want to do. I said, okay, I'll give myself a month. A month turned into 6 months. 6 months turned into a year. And I realized that I didn't want to do production at all. I had a nose for news, which I was told by my mentor. Like, I was good with knowing what would trend. I was good with my research, she says, and I was good with my writing. And well, that's it. And then I finally got to meet the same people I used to be fascinated by on screen. So you can well understand, I had a few fangirl moments too, and I have continued loving what I do. I have possibly interviewed everybody from Al Pacino to Amitabh Bachchan. I'm sure you know who Amitabh Bachchan is. He's like the big daddy of Bollywood. He's Shah Rukh Khan, K-pop groups, and yeah, and here I am, still loving what I do. I will still stand outside and report a story. I just am as passionate about my work as I was, say, as a 23-year-old.
Okay, I can go next. So I think growing up, I did competitive dancing. So that's kind of where my love for entertainment and music kind of stems from. Between that and just my parents were just big music people. So I was always listening to anywhere from like Simon and Garfunkel to AC/DC, like it was all in between. So I kind of grew up loving music at its core, and it was always an outlet for me with dance and with everything else. And then I also grew up watching Good Morning America every single morning with my mom before I'd head off to school. So from being in first grade all the way through high school, I was waking up early and I was watching it with her. And within that time, I realized that initially I wanted to go into broadcast. So I did broadcast through high school whenever it was, TV production and doing like the morning news or reports or whatever. I did all of it, which kind of stemmed my interest in journalism in the first place. So that's when I went over to Cronkite, and the initial plan was to go into broadcast. And the overall goal that I had growing up was to always go to GMA. And then within the first probably 2 years of being within broadcast, I realized I absolutely hated it. Personal opinion, I just did not like it at all. And by that time, COVID had just hit by the end of our sophomore year. And I called up one of my connections who was a meteorologist in Philly at the time. And I was like, so, hey, how's the industry doing? And she kind of turned to me at that point and was like, I'm not going to tell you to change your major, but I would start opening up your options a little bit more just based off of how things are looking right now. Because that was the prime of when COVID had just hit and there were mass layoffs within broadcast. So it was kind of that was like my push to, I already started doing intro to PR classes and I loved every second of it. So that was kind of my push to change over or focus more on public relations. And it was also the thing I could tell my parents, where I was like, I didn't just go across the country for, no reason, like I'm switching over, but like, here's why. It was like that excuse that I needed to have them just be like, all right, fine. And not be upset that after all these years of wanting to do GMA and all of that stuff, I was kind of changing direction. And so that kind of just forced my hand a little bit. And I spent so much time interning within college, and, I had experience within sports and corporate and all these different industries. But at the end of the day, I always just kind of wanted to go back to music and entertainment, because doing that within PR was like the cross sector between broadcast and PR. And I still got to hold on to the things that I loved and I held on to so much growing up that influenced what I wanted to do for the rest of my life and where I wanted to go to college. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into music and entertainment and all of that.
Great answers. I'm going to move into some individual questions. So we're going to start with Puja. You've been a broadcast journalist for 27 years now, and your work has been seen worldwide. You've worked with some of the biggest stars in Hollywood, Bollywood, and Korean pop culture. How much has networking played a role in your career, and what advice would you give to students about the importance of networking within the entertainment industry?
I think networking is so important. I realized the importance of it, I think, a few years ago, because, when I started off, there were just 2 TV channels. And literally everybody would come running to you, wanting you to feature their stories and their talent. And getting access to people was easy. There was just one call to a publicist and you would get the interview. But then over the years, as many more TV channels came and there were more people interested in what you were doing. And before that, let me tell you, entertainment reporters, I mean, literally, I had my news editor calling me, hey, entertainment, because it was not seen something as very respectful in the news bulletin, because there was political news, then there was socio-cultural news, there was sports, and then there was entertainment, which is this one little thing that could be fashion, which could be a star, could be anything, just anything to entertain. So, I mean, firstly was to get that respect that, entertainment was thriving. It didn't have to be just all gossip and all glamour. There was more to it. So worked hard on that. And coming to networking, realized that it was really very important to meet people. Firstly, know the conversation that was happening in your journalistic circles, because, sitting cocooned in your cubicle, you just feel that the world actually just operates around you and what you think the story should be. But when you realize, when you meet people outside, when you go attend events, when you have interactions with publicists, managers, and sometimes it's very good to align with your talents, people who are close to them, to understand what the person is feeling, and to just get in touch with those people, developing contact, whether it would be with PRs, they're very important. I'm sure Devon would understand. Our world revolves around PRs, getting access, because they are actually the conduit to, the journalists getting access to the main guys. And as also Christina would understand, it's also networking within the organization, your journalistic community, and meeting new people, understanding what the audience wants, meeting new people, that really helps. But now with everything on social media, I just feel that we somewhere have lost the impact of face-to-face interactions, which is very important. So yes, develop your contacts, keep in touch with them. And another thing that I learned now is respond. If somebody's written a message to you, could be an email, could be a WhatsApp, give a revert, don't ghost them. Because the trend these days is that you don't want to respond, I will ghost them, a yes or no. And also keep in touch. Also, now, if I'm an editor, I should not think that I don't need to meet a junior PR. I need to, because they are the ones who are running the show. So you constantly have to up your game. It's all about networking at the end of the day. You can be sitting on that edit machine, editing your story, going on air, but it all comes with constant networking. Just getting to know people, meeting them, reaching out to people. Now I'm talking to all of you, you never know what this association is going to lead to, so always keep yourself open to possibilities about meeting people, attend the events, volunteer, just help people, maybe just meet some young kid who needs encouragement, mentor someone, or ask someone to mentor you. It's never too late to learn. So it's all about networking, and that's it. This game is about networking and nothing else.
I couldn't agree more. Clint, your K-pop segments with Fox 13 in Seattle are amazing. So I was wondering, did you have to pitch the idea of interviewing these K-pop artists to Fox 13, or was that kind of something that was already in place? Like, how did that process happen, and how accepting were they of the idea?
So I did have to pitch it for Fox, for Como before this, and in San Antonio. I only did one for San Antonio because it came at the end of my time there, before I moved. I had to pitch it because, I mean, in local TV news, which is what a lot of journalism students will usually start out in, at least, it gets very I don't want to say boring, but it gets very repetitive, because each station, especially, has their own thing they like to cover. So in my first station in Alabama, it was a lot of community events. In San Antonio, it was we did a lot of medical stories. We did a lot of we did crime. In Seattle, it's pretty much very crime heavy. And so, I mean, as a journalist covering the same stuff every day, you get very worn out with that. So yeah, when I first started with this, I got the yes from that one entertainment company, and I went to our assistant news director at the time. Luckily, I had they pretty much all liked me there, so I was pretty much I said, you know, I've got this K-pop group I can interview, and I want to interview them, and I want to put it online. They're like, oh, cool, yeah, my daughter really likes K-pop. So, I mean, that's how that first one happened. I did that one interview there, and then I came over to Seattle to my previous station before this, and I was like, again, hey, I've got this series I would like to start online. I do all the work. I set up the interviews. I do the interview. I edit the interview. I will do everything. They're like, cool, it's content. And then the same thing with Fox. In the end, I've noticed news, the TV stations, they want content. So in the end, if you're willing to do the work and get it done, they're happy. And it really helps the station, our social channels reach out to a different demographic, different audience that we don't realize we can get. Every TV station is very focused on the demographics that companies have done for them, saying these are our viewers. Female ages 18 to 25 is great at this time, 30 to whatever is that time. But why does it have to end there? News, especially, most of us get it online. So I figure, you know, if I can help us reach a different audience, that's not a bad thing at all. So it really worked out. They've done pretty well here so far. One thing I do have to do is market them to the K-pop audience. So when I find that K-pop group, usually I'm already a fan of them, but I'll go on Twitter, I'll search up their fan sites. I send an email to their fan sites. I'm like, hey, I have this. Would you mind sharing it? And from there, it grows. And so we get all these viewers from all across the world, so many countries, to my station's website and YouTube. And in the end, everyone's happy. So yeah, I guess to wrap that all up, I did have to pitch it, but in the end, stations just want content. And if you're willing to do the work for it, you're set.
Success. Christina, you've worked with an incredible number of publications and have contributed to thousands of articles over the years. So I wanted to ask, in what ways does writing for an entertainment beat differ from writing for other beats? And what do you enjoy the most about writing entertainment pieces?
I would say it's the same and a little bit different. I mean, excuse me, all the skills I learned in community journalism, I can pull and use in entertainment stories, such as, you know, interview skills. And that's why if I have interns who come in and say, well, I'm only doing this, no, you should really do news, sports, entertainment, food, everything, so you can be well-rounded and learn interview skills and put you in a tough spot. You know, not really a tough spot, I guess I should say, put you, like, challenge you a little bit, because you don't want to stay stagnant, you know. But it's more or less the same. You're interviewing people. You gotta rein it in a little bit if you try to, you know, you can't get too excited over it, you know. But it's just it's pretty much the same, and it's great. But I just really enjoy it. I think these last 32 years have been amazing. I mean, I've met up and coming, I should put that in quotes, up and coming stars who I've watched their careers just take off, and it's just been amazing. Like a little rapper from Detroit who you know, turned out to be on the Super Bowl halftime show last year, Eminem. So it's just it's been amazing. And I guess what I like writing about the most is I'm naturally kind of nosy. So I can ask what the songs are about. I can ask what the you know, why'd you write this? Why'd you write that? You know, what can we expect from your show? Because I'm one of those people who will look at setlist.fm to see what songs people are playing in concert, because I like to know ahead of time. So it's just my way of satisfying my need to be nosy. And it's been great. It's been fun, and it's just you know, but the key is really just to do as many articles as you can so you can be the best that you can be.
Love it. And then Devin, you just recently graduated from the Walter Cronkite School. We killed it in the PR lab, you know. So far in your career, how would you say Cronkite has prepared you for success?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as I stated before, I went into school doing broadcast. And so switching over into PR, I think one of the most beneficial things for me was the fact that I did start out in broadcast and I was doing live reporting and I was doing print journalism. And it was that whole side of things that taught me what are journalists looking for, who to target, like how to reach your audience and like what's actually newsworthy. And so I think Cronkite had such a huge part in giving me the opportunity to understand what people are looking for. So I'm not just like shooting in the dark and hoping that it hits. Like it was just one of those things where going through broadcast, and actually one of my mentors right now is my like freshman year CA, who was the exact same way. She went into Cronkite doing broadcasts, switched over to PR, and she kind of followed a very similar path to me. And I was so dead set on going into broadcast. And she was like, don't close all of your doors off, because a lot of people end up switching within Cronkite. And it was something that I was like, yeah, that won't be me. It was me. But I think just honing in on all of your writing skills is so important. And I think that's something that after a while, school felt redundant in a lot of ways, but truly they were just drilling you for the things that you really did need to be good at. So no matter how redundant it felt, and then once you get to the point where you're doing 301 and you're doing the live reporting and trying to get published, it just teaches you so much about how to reach out to people and how to even just get your word and your narrative of things out there. And I think that was one of the most beneficial things Cronkite could have done, because it just taught me the process from both sides, which has helped me so much. And then also kind of adding on to that, like paying attention to social media analytics and digital audiences is also huge, because that just opens another opportunity to within PR, within journalism, whatever you're going into, just understanding your audiences and seeing what they're looking for. So, yeah.
Awesome. And then, all right, we have one question before we get into the Q&A section. So the last question is just to close out this portion of the event, what is a small little piece of advice you wish you heard before going into the industry?
I can start. I think for me, it's two things, and kind of adding on to Puja's point, networking is huge. Talk to everyone, learn from everyone. And it's come to a point since I'm so young in my career where I've reached out to some of my journalist contacts, and I was like, hey, this is a pitch I'm trying to use. Like some of my friends from Cronkite, like if from your perspective, is this something that you'd even consider? And so that's been huge with me learning how to go about PR, just kind of getting the insight of journalists, because they're the ones that you need to be connected with, and they're the ones that you need to relate to. So knowing what they're looking for and having open communication with them has been big. And then also going off of that, it's just, you're going to start at the bottom, and it's going to feel like you have absolutely no idea what you're doing. At all times, you're always going to be concerned that you're not doing things right, but just trust in your education and what you've learned and the people around you. And people are a lot more willing to help than you think that they would be. So.
I could take off from where she said, the thing is that self-belief is very important. And I just wish that 27 years ago, someone had told me that, do stop and smell the roses and don't take everything personally. There'll be times you'll miss that big pitch. There'll be times when you would be snubbed for an interview. There'll be times when nowadays you are trolled. There'll be times when an interview will go bad. Don't make it about yourself, because I'm my worst critic and I get so self-consumed in that hole that I'm just too focused on work that I have not realized that life has slipped by me. It's great. I'm obsessive about my work, but somewhere you need to balance that work life and everything. And that I didn't let that happen. And I just want to tell everyone who's getting into this field, love your job, give it your best, but at the end of the day, cut yourself some slack. Don't take it upon yourself. Things will go wrong. They will, but just stop. Just wait for a moment and then just go ahead. And this is something I'm trying to do now. I wish somebody had told me. My life just became deadlines, bylines, and getting that next story. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
I agree.
Yeah.
I can't say that. Oh, sorry. I
you're
can't
good.
say that any better than you did. That was amazing because it's true. I've worked for deadlines, I've worked for interviews, the next concert, the next movie premiere, the next junket, anything. And it's just, you realize that you're, 54, I guess, and you just wish you would have traveled more or whatever. But yeah, I think that's very well said. So
That's true. Missed
yeah.
out on birthdays, parties, travel, compromised. Not worth it.
Mm-mm.
Not worth it.
But it is fun.
Enjoy the ride. Enjoy the
Mhm.
ride. Don't take everything so seriously.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, literally the same thing they've said. My biggest advice is literally just stop worrying. And that's something I'm still having to learn how to do. But in the end, us as journalists, the readers, the watchers, they're less focused on our mistakes. They're more focused on who we're interviewing, who we're talking about. So don't stress out so much about yourself. Do a good job, do the best you can. But in the end, as long as you're doing your best, they're focused on your story. They're not too much focused on you or something you do. I'm a video journalist. I did not write before this year. I didn't have to do anything on camera. So coming into entertainment on camera with K-pop groups and everything, I was so stressed. I'm still stressed. I'm worried about how I'm framed too much. I'm worried about everything because I'm like, I have to be perfect at this. But in the end, they're not watching for me. They're watching for the group. That they may read my article, but no, they're going straight to the interview so they can see their artist. So what I'm having to learn now, is stop worrying about yourself. As long as you're doing the job to the best of your ability, you're fine.
Great. This is my favorite question, I think. You guys gave such good answers, which is perfect because now we're leading into the Q&A. So just a reminder before anyone asks a question, whoever asks something, I'll put you guys in a little raffle and I'll be delivering Starbucks drinks to your door later today. So
Wow. I missed it.
yeah, a special prize. So whoever wants to ask a question can come to the mic or go on camera if you want to.
Hi, I had a question. My name is Lily Malianderos, and I'm actually not interested in entertainment or PR as a job, but I am interested in journalism. But I came and listened just because I was curious about the industry and curious about your jobs. One thing that I heard Pusha mention was that, or Christina, was one of you too, about like it's not tabloids, or you mentioned something about how you thought it was just tabloids and drama. So I went into this meeting with the idea that that is kind of what you guys did. So how can you guys differentiate like tabloid and drama media and your work, and what is the value of your work as opposed to something like that?
So yeah, I was the one who said that. So because when I've done news anchoring as well and reported on news, sociocultural issues. But entertainment was always seen as, again, as a tabloid. Who was seeing who was wearing who's getting married to whom, who's going to break up with whom. And literally, I'm going to tell you what happens is sometimes stories are planted by the agents and by channels too, that you plant a story and suddenly you get a reaction. Then you say, oh, it's not happened. So I just kind of like was very clear this was not where my heart was. And we had just started a show where you reported live from parties. I was sent for 2 of those events. I hated every moment there because you're just like a voyeuristic thing on who's wearing what, who's whispering into who's ear. It was a show called Night Out, and I kind of hated it. I was like, then how do I carve a niche for myself? So what I started doing was I started doing stories that would reflect the other side, like, basically entertainment news, asking people about their craft, what they wanted to talk about. I even started a series where, would speak to senior, actors and talent about their past and their stories. And people kind of like that, wanting to know the process then. So that was a show called Flashback, which was, basically down memory lane. And if I met an actor, I made sure I'm not asking them about, oh, we've heard that you're seeing so-and-so. I've heard that you're pregnant. I made sure, if I did want to ask, I would ask subtly, but the focus would be that person, about why they chose what they're trying to do, what their vision is, how they started off. And I realized that was getting a lot of views and there was a whole lot of interest in that. So I started focusing more on that. And I realized that kind of respectability also came into it, because everybody said, yeah, only what works is clickbait headlines. I mean, I know, I agree. I mean, you write something and click, but then there was an audience for also, people who were really invested in stuff like that. And I'm sure Christina would agree, is people who want to know about music, want to know about the artist, not about who the artist is seeing. Likewise with film. So that's where I developed my focus. And let me just tell you, that kind of networking and relationship has helped me now when I'm not with a primetime news channel anymore. I'm with a startup. It has no reach, it has no views, but I still manage to get the interviews, is because someone remembers that you were nice to them. So it's just, yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. I had the same thing. I worked for major dailies in Detroit, and sorry for the text messages. I worked for a major daily in Detroit, and now that I'm in Phoenix and we started up the Entertainer magazine, I can get tons of interviews just because I've established those my reputation and I established my reputation and the contacts over the last 30 years. So, if we were just tabloid journalists, we wouldn't be able to do something like that. We just keep it just exactly their new project, what they're working on, the tour, etc. And it's news from a different side.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Lily. Whoever would like to go next can pop up on the camera or on the mic.
Hi, my name's Maria, and just like Lily, I'm in journalism, so I came in here with a mindset, but I also wanted to know, what was your guys' biggest challenge you've had to come over so far in your careers?
I guess I'll go first. I've had a couple challenges. One was being a woman in a locker room in 1992, before it was more mainstream. That was really difficult. I had doors slammed in my face. I had players say, "Here, sit down on this chair," and then they threw their equipment at me. It was very, very, very challenging, but you just ignore it, stand your ground, do your job, and they respect you after that, or you just kind of laugh it off and give them the snarky look like, "Are you kidding me?" But yeah, I mean, you just really stand your ground, and it works, and they earn you. That's a way of earning respect, and that was really hard, and same with being a woman in the entertainment journalism field. I can't tell you how many times I've heard, "So basically you're a groupie." No. Would you ask a guy journalist that? No. So those are two really big challenges that I had to face, especially when I was really young.
And I second what Christina said, because firstly, as a woman and an entertainment journalist, you have to prove to everyone around you that you can be taken seriously. I luckily worked in an office that had a lot of women, which was great. Women thrived, but it also had a downside to it, because sometimes like my first boss was not a very nice person to know. She wouldn't let you come up. It was just insecurity would come in, which I did not face with a male boss, who would actually encourage me, give me that record, say, "Oh, go ahead and do that interview, it does not matter." While the female boss I had a bit of a tussle with, but anyways, overcame that. But then also having, to get yourself taken seriously. And now, as I said, I'm a fossil. It's with this whole influencer generation, because I feel that experience is paramount. Your social media numbers don't mean anything. But now it's basically the content is going to influencers, young influencers, just because they have a huge social media presence. But I somewhere feel that, hey, I have the experience and the expertise. So, you just can't counter social media numbers with that. That's the challenge I'm currently facing. And it's getting to me. And guess what? I've also spoken with young talent in the business, people who are auditioning, young stars who tell me they face the same. They are auditioned on the basis of the social media numbers. That's a challenge.
Mine is not entertainment focused because I am in the TV news industry. Um, the biggest thing I've had to come to terms with is that not everyone's going to like you, like at all. In this industry, there are going to be a lot of people that absolutely despise you just because of your job title, just because of where you work. But in the end, I mean that's kind of the same with every job, but it's a little worse with news, especially these days. But yeah, not everyone's gonna like you, so you've really just got to do the best job you can for the place you're working, and let that be it. And then advice I would have another if you're going into a broadcast journalism type of industry or any journalism is take time for yourself. This job is not supposed to be your life. Our job literally is going into the lives of others and getting information and putting that out. So because we are focused on people so much, don't let that take away from focusing on yourself. I've only been in this industry for 5 years, but I've already noticed, like a couple years in, that you get so focused on work and other people that you are not in the best space yourself and focusing on yourself. So, yeah, so not everyone's going to like you, and focus on yourself.
Totally articulated my own sentiments.
Yeah, and I can kind of, align with Puja and Christina. I think one of the biggest issues I face, even though I'm so young to the industry, is one, being a female in the industry. Unfortunately, that just seems to be the way it is. And I'm kind of lucky because I have a gender neutral name, but I've had experiences already where people like show me a lot of like respect, and then they see me on a Zoom call or see me somewhere, and then it's like they treat me totally different. And it's because I think they just fully assumed that I was a guy before I got on the call. And that's obviously upsetting. And in addition to that, being so young in the industry, like, do not tell anyone your age. Like, do not tell a single person how old you are, because the minute they find out, they're just like, oh, she's a baby. Like, it's not worth it. People just treat you as if, you're too young to have any experience or to kind of be worth their time in a lot of areas. So if I could recommend anything, it was just do not tell them your age. And if you show up and you're professional, it's not going to matter at the end of the day. And also, just lastly, from a PR perspective, if you're working in entertainment, just because you have a client, like a musician, a producer, whoever, who has all these amazing like accreditations and like has a incredible discography, like that doesn't mean anything. It's a kind of a matter of what are they doing now that's relevant to the people, because just saying that, oh, so-and-so worked with Beyonce or whatever, that's not enough for a story for a journalist. So try to dig deeper than just surface level and, the stuff that you think everyone would be interested in just because they have some relevance. So, yeah.
I'll jump in just at the end of that too. In this industry, there are a lot of people covering the same stories, especially if you're in TV news, newspapers, anything. There's a lot of people that will be interviewing the same people you are, doing the same stories at the same time. So try to focus on thinking of questions, doing something that is different, that will be different, taking a different angle, because there's nothing more annoying than seeing another article, another piece with the same people, and it's the exact same information. Because then you start thinking, oh, so the person I interviewed, they did that same thing multiple times. They were so annoyed. Yeah, always try to think outside of the box when you are doing a story with anybody, because someone else probably is thinking about some of those same questions that you have.
I agree with what Clint said, because research is paramount, because I see a lot of young reporters come on location with no research done. I till date read up, write my questions. I don't use the phone, on a piece of paper. And there are times when I might be a little overconfident saying, oh, I know about this person and their filmography. I really don't need to. But hey, there is something new. Listen to their interviews. I was telling Clint and Austin just prior, I had this young journalist working with me who asked me, Michael Jackson is trending. and she didn't know who Michael Jackson was. Just because he was trending on Twitter, he was a name for her. So Michael Jackson is trending. So I said, yeah, 5 songs. It's his birthday. Never heard of him, never heard his songs. If you are getting into this field, it's important, do some research. It is, he might not have been popular in your lifetime, but hey, he was a legend. You need to know about them. Likewise, when I started off reporting, I mean, thanks to my father, I watched James Dean movies, Rock Hudson movies, Clark Gable, Cary Grant. I knew these people, you know. So when you were sitting and reporting, and when Paul Newman died, I wrote his obituary. Guess what? Because I knew his filmography. I did ask people around me, but it's important because it's just like when you're reporting on politics, he's reporting on music. Christina has done that. You need to have some knowledge and keep yourselves updated with trends. It's important. I think it's a little more easier now because you have Google. I mean, Christina and I belong to the generation where we didn't have Google. We didn't have social media. We went to the libraries, poured over magazines and newspapers and did research.
Thank you, Emria, for the question. I think we're going to try and fit in 2 more questions before we close. So whoever would like to ask next.
Hi, I'm Lexis, and I just wanted to know what traits are good to have for this industry.
Oh.
A thick skin, pretty much. Kind of going back to what I said, not everyone's going to like you. You're going to have stuff said to you that you do not like at all. So really that's probably the biggest thing I've noticed. I've been called so many things. So many things has been done on the other side of my camera that has been live. You know, it's having a thick skin in this industry. And again, like my experience mainly goes towards TV news. But I think for any journalist, you have to know that not everyone is going to like you, but that is totally okay. Just focus on your job and doing it the best you can.
Anyone else? It was like a trait that you should have to get into this industry.
I would say that you have to be able to keep, this sounds kind of funny, but you have to keep a poker face. You can't get excited over the person that you're interviewing, no matter how much you enjoy their music or whatever. That you have to be able to put your thoughts aside on the flip side, because if you are reporting, this goes for any kind of reporting, if you're have to interview someone from an opposing political party or a artist you like, an artist you hate, you really have to keep your thoughts to yourself and just do the job. So I can't tell you how many interns I've shared that with. So, too bad. You have to do it. You're going to do it, and just, stay impartial.
Yeah, that one is very true. I feel that already.
Yeah.
You can't be bigger than your story. It's exactly what Christina said, and you can't have your own personal biases come in. And how much you may love or hate that person, you have to report the story for what it is.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Lexis. All right. And then we have time for one more question.
Hey, my name is Adonis. Also a journalism major. When did y'all know, like, this is what y'all wanted to do? Like, what was the moment for y'all?
My moment was, I think one of the first interviews I ever did, like when my internship turned into a full-time job because the music editor quit, they said I didn't have any training, nothing. I had to start from, you didn't have this back now, but information. I had to call information to find Warner Brothers phone number and try to interview a band called Depeche Mode, who was really big back then. And once I started digging in and really getting into it, getting contacts, that's when I knew I did the right job. And it's been amazing since then. And it's just, I can't tell you how much fun this job is. You get to do something different every day. You get to meet different people every day. Even you know, like meeting all of you has been wonderful, and it's just been a you know, just it lived up and surpassed my expectations for sure. And it doesn't hurt that I've interviewed almost everybody on my bucket list too. So
Yeah. Anyone else?
I can go. I think something for me, it wasn't even so much when I realized that like this is what I necessarily wanted to do forever, because I feel like I have so much time to kind of do whatever and experience everything. But for me, it was when I was kind of in the transition from being an intern at my company to becoming a full-time employee and kind of handling internal communications. And it was Christmas Day, and I was sitting there and like I was still doing work, and I was like happy to be sitting there and doing work and working hard to like get something that I was working so hard for. And you know, I spent like 2 or 3 hours that day just like getting stuff together, because the next week I was going to find out if they were hiring me full time. And it wasn't something that I was like, oh, it's Christmas, I can't believe I have to be sitting here and doing all this stuff to prepare to hopefully get this gig. It was something that was more along the lines of just me being happy to even have the opportunity and wanting to work harder and wanting to do the best that I could, and you know, prove that everything that I'd worked towards like was all worth it. So I think that was kind of the moment for me where I was like, I kind of like this industry, and I like being in it, and I actually like thoroughly enjoy what I do. So
Yeah, I don't think I had a moment at all. It's kind of over time you realize that like this is one of the coolest industries you can be in. Like there is a lot of tough stuff you had to deal with, working on all these holidays, constantly being in a work mode because you see news happening all around you. Um, but in the end, we have one of the coolest jobs you could have. We get to talk to some of our idols. We get to talk to so many big names and do so many cool stories and meet so many people that in the end, just you have to remember that if you are going into this industry, it may be tough at sometimes, like all jobs, but we have one of the coolest jobs that anyone could have.
You know, I agree with what Clint said. And I'll tell you, with me, it was like my father and brother were very keen that I report on politics, because, you know, political journalists are looked up at a little more respectfully than, say, an entertainment journalist when I started. But, you know, I used to do shows on MTV called MTVU. You went to the university with this cool VJ and you interviewed little students, and then I graduated to becoming the host of that show. I used to report on a show which was India's first magazine show. I was having fun. So one day I just asked my dad, why would you want me to report on politics? You know, that's serious journalism. You were just having fun. Why could I not have fun on a job? I mean, did my job have to be dreary and stressful? Yes, journalism is extremely stressful. I think once in a week I do say I'm quitting it. I've not come around to quitting it in the last 27 years. And I was having fun. I may have hated those 18-hour shifts. I hated being rogered by colleagues around me and by, sorry, Devon, nothing against you, by publicists not taking my call. But guess what? I was enjoying every moment of it. And the first day when I saw my name in the credit roll, I was just an intern then. You have no idea the high that it gave me that I could be there. So yeah, I was having fun.
Yeah, I love that so much. That was the last question. So thank you guys so much for speaking with us today. Real quick before you guys leave, if you want to tell the students where they can find you or where they can connect with you, if you want to say that.
sure, I'll start. They can connect with me at Christina at timeslocalmedia.com, and our magazine is the Entertainer magazine, so it's entertainermag.com, and the timespublications.com, and I oversee, like I said, about 22 to 25 publications there. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Christina.
Yeah, and mine is just my name. My email is clint.edwards@fox.com. And then my Twitter is Clint_Edwards, which I'm always on. So any questions any of you have about the industry or anything, just let me know.
Hi, you can get in touch with me at pujat3@gmail.com, and my Twitter is @Talwar_Puja. I'll put it in the chat box. Instagram, same. My name is Puja. All of India spells Puja, Puja as Pooja, despite the fact that they see me spelling my name as Uja, but they still address me as Pooja. So I'm PUJATALWAR. So you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Gmail, wherever. And I'm easily accessible. I do revert back.
Yes, Puja does have a blue check mark on Instagram, so
Yeah,
I should soon. I'm trying for that right now. I had to have a certain number of articles first, and I have those, so I'm waiting on our people to get that done.
I'm actually going through the process of trying to get one of my clients verified right now, which has been a struggle. So, but yeah,
It's a lot harder than you think.
It's so hard. Like
it is really hard.
Maybe I can get you in touch with Twitter. I shall message you.
Please.
I'll do
And you
that.
can reach me at devon.greene@newreacheducation.com. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. It's my best friend. And yeah, my Twitter is really not overly relevant. It's mainly spammed with Web3 stuff, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, yeah, feel free to reach out whenever.
Thank you so much, guys, for speaking with us today, and I'm sure we'll see you again sometime in the future.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And for those that asked a question, you guys can stay, and I'll do the little wheel spin thing.
So have a good day, all of you. It's good night from my side then. Bye-bye.
All right, perfect.
Thank
And
you.
Puja,
Have a
I
good
will
night.
send you an email soon with their
Thank you so
contact.
much.
All
And
right.
I sent
Yep.
an email about Twitter.
Perfect. All right.
The networking, guys.
Uh-huh.
Thank
That's most
you.
important.
Bye.
All right. Goodbye.